There was a handful of people that sent me questions by comment or by email, and I just wanted to take a chance. Let me start this again, please. Okay.
Take a chance.
Take a chance on me.
If you change your mind,
All right.
I'm the first in line.
All right. Hello, people. Welcome to Jaby We Met. I am your host, Jaby KOAY, and I am joined by Achara KIRK.
Hello.
The first guest of Jaby We Met.
What an honor.
She might be the final guest, depending on how this episode goes. So, Jaby We Met has not been the most popular video on my channel. I enjoy doing it, but it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time, like any video worthwhile anyway. However, this might be the last episode, and the reason why is because of the aforementioned reasons. But the reason why we're doing it is because there was a handful of people that wrote to me on the last Jaby We Met episode for comments, and they also wrote me emails, and I thought I would use this opportunity to talk about another topic and respond to them. So, what do you want to do first, Achara? Do you want to talk about a random topic that I have chosen, or do you want to respond to emails first?
Ooh, let's respond to emails first, because I'm sure people who have written in will be dying to know what you have to say.
All right. This is going to be long. This first one is long. Okay, so it goes, Hey, Jaby, my name is Anamika, 17 years, and I am a girl from a small city in South India. My father is a film distributor, so in the attempt of knowing about his work, I got to know about how the film industry works, business, and things. It got me interested in movies and started watching so many movies of many languages, English, Korean, Chinese, including Indian, and I became a true fan of movies. I like to watch movies with friends mostly, and I love to have a cinematic experience and a bigger screen than a small laptop, so I rush to theaters a lot with my friends. My friend, who has same madness towards movies, gives me company most of the time, but she has to lie to her parents, as according to their religious beliefs, watching a movie is a sin. I don't want to say her religion because it is not necessary, I guess. My friend is not an atheist. She prays, she attends every single thing, and also she likes movies. She is not allowed to watch television unless it is a religious song or teachings of religious head. So she has only the opportunity when she comes and hangs out with us, as we live with her parents. Wait, huh? Okay, I don't understand that. Recently, she started feeling like she is doing wrong by telling lies at her home to watch a movie. So we decided to take a small break of watching movies in theaters, but honestly, we don't know what to say to her. I don't think it is a sin to enjoy something we love, but I don't know how to say that to her without hurting her religious beliefs. Can you help me? We'll be waiting. In last video, you told about how to maintain a habit as I joined the gym. Because of muscle pains, I thought of quitting, but I stuck to it this week. I think I had good advice at the right time. Thank you. Love your videos. React more.
Good girl for sticking with the gym. It's hard at first.
So let's address this.
Yes.
I used to have an uncle. I'm not going to say his name, even though he'll never watch this, but he is a religious zealot, to say the least, and a hypocrite.
Well, they
He's
usually
a
are.
hardcore Christian, but like growing up, he would only let my cousins watch Christian videos or Westerns. It doesn't matter how violent the Western was. They were allowed to watch religious Jesus videos or Westerns. Those were
people shooting each other in Westerns.
Yeah, I remember my dad took me to sleep over their place when I was a kid, and I wanted to bring my Super Nintendo. And my dad said, no, your uncle thinks Nintendo is the devil. Like, that's how hardcore he was, right? And that's before Mortal Kombat was available on Super Nintendo. Like, the most violent game you could get was like Zelda or Metroid or Star Fox. Like, there wasn't really, and it was all innocuous, right? It's crazy. It's hard. It's especially difficult when you're trying to obey your parents, who you've grown up in this vacuum, believing that they have the gospel word, like their word is paramount to all others. And so naturally she feels guilty because she has to lie. Of course, you know how I feel about all that, right?
Yeah, Jaby's okay with lying.
Well, in this particular instance, yeah, because she's not doing anything wrong. She's watching a movie. It's not like she's getting high. It's not like she's getting tattoos. It's not like she's having sex. She just wants to watch a movie.
I know, but according to her religious belief, it's wrong.
Right. And so my advice to anyone who is dealing with anything like this or has a friend that is going through this is to simply ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask the question of, well, why is it wrong? Why does your religion say it's wrong? Start there and keep just plugging away until you get to where you want to get to. Whether you have to ask yourself the question or you got to ask them the question. That's my advice in this particular instance, because I think it's very easy to poke holes in this I don't know, dogma.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you on this one. Like, just keep asking the questions. Like, maybe you don't have to be so aggressive about it because sometimes, like, when you ask people too many questions and they're not really ready for it, they can get really defensive and just kind of go inside their shell and put up a wall, you know? So you gotta be persistent, but just be patient and just challenge them, but in a nice way, you know, like, well, why do you think that? Like, why is it wrong?
Achara is absolutely correct. You have to play the long con, basically. It's a slow burn, and it's very hard. It's something Jaby is not good at. I am the guy who comes in like a boulder from the sky, and I'm like, boom, bitch. Like, that's the truth. Deal with it.
Like a wrecking ball.
Yeah, I'm a wrecking. But you're right. I absolutely agree with you. It's the long con of, like, you know, kind of wearing down the rock with the waves of
like
truth.
Exactly. The waves of truth wearing down the rock. And then eventually, you know, like, hey, shall we watch a movie today? We can just watch a little bit or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, just keep trying, keep challenging, and maybe her thoughts will change.
Right.
Or maybe not. Like, you don't have control over it.
Well, the truth of the matter is, I mean, this may be resolved by now, bear in mind, because this was written to me many months ago, February 7th, 2018.
Whoopsie.
I apologize very profusely for the long delay. It just didn't seem like anybody cared about Jaby. We met but a handful of people. So let's assume this is not resolved yet. The truth of the matter is her friend, Animika's friend, does enjoy movies. And deep down, she knows inside that it's not wrong. And so it's really about convincing her to confront her parents about this.
Or she doesn't even have to.
Let's take this on to a much bigger topic, like coming out of the closet, right?
Okay.
Like, because it's easier to kind of, I think, put things in perspective, right? So let's say that you are a lesbian or whatever, or gay, whatever the case may be. You know in your heart how you feel. You know that feels correct. And the only thing telling you it's wrong is either your family or society.
Right.
Right? And so if you know in your heart that it's correct, what you have to wrestle with before anything else, before anybody else, is your parents. And let them know, like, this is not wrong and I'm comfortable with this. I don't know if that makes any sense. I mean, I'm being kind of dramatic with the whole movie thing, but they're taking it very seriously.
It's about control, isn't it? Because you don't have control over the majority of the content that is out there, but you can control what your kids are watching if they're only watching religious songs and religious heads.
I think the idea is that you don't want to hurt their impressionable minds with what's out there. So
they're going to discover it eventually.
Let's move on to the next thing here. This comes from I don't know if I'm allowed to say their name, so I'm not going to say who it's from. I'm just going to read the email.
Okay.
Hey, Jaby, I want to talk about movies. Sorry, Guru Jaby. I must have said Guru Jaby in one of the previous podcasts. It's the name I was playing with, but it sounds aggrandizing, so I was hesitant. I like Jake Gyllenhaal a lot as an actor, but I think not a lot of people talk about him in India or on YouTube, which is strange considering his movies like Enemy, Prisoners, Demolition, October and Sky, and Nightcrawler. I love those two films. End of Watch, that was okay. Source Code, I didn't like so much. Donnie Darko as a classic, Love and Other Drugs. It's an impressive resume. My question is, do people talk about him in USA or not? Why do you think he isn't more well known as other actors with not many good movies? I think that Jake Gyllenhaal is talked about, but, like, he's not as talked about as someone of the likes of
like Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling's a great example. Like, everyone talks about him, or Brad Pitt. Well, Leonardo DiCaprio gets talked about a lot. Jake Gyllenhaal is one of those kind of he's like a black sheep in the industry. Like, he's in the circle, but he's a black sheep within the circle.
Yeah, because he's different. He's a little bit quirky. He makes interesting movie choices. He doesn't necessarily go the route of, like, I'm just going to do leading man roles in every movie. He's a bit of a character actor, yet he still plays the leading man. He's just really interesting and a really talented actor to boot. But you wouldn't necessarily, like, I mean, apart from Prince of Persia, which, I mean, let's not talk about that. But you wouldn't necessarily, like, put him as the lead star vehicle person in, like, a massive film, really.
Right, but I think the reason why he's not talked about in India is because he's not really
A megastar?
An international star. He's more of a domestic star. Like, obviously, these films have gotten over to India, right? But I don't think he is as well loved as other people might be who are American stars.
Your choice of words is interesting because you said star when it comes to those other actors, whereas I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal is an actor.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's a difference between being a movie star and being an actor.
Let's move on to the next one. This is long again. I apologize. Hi, Jaby. How are you doing? I'm writing this mail to you as there is something I think you should know. I came across your channel in May 2017 when I felt like watching the Shenoy trailer again. Instead, I came across your reaction to the trailer and I loved it. I love how you and Akasan reacted to it compared with other Hollywood films. That day, I watched a lot of trailer reactions of popular Bollywood films and I became a huge fan of your channel and your dedication. The reason why I'm thanking you is because I have been suffering from depression for a long time. I'm alone, weird, and I don't have many friends who I can trust and talk to. There were times when I would think of ending my life, but I couldn't go ahead with it. But your channel, your hard work, the guests you call to your place helped me a lot. I would watch your reaction to web series and trailers on loop, and when you discuss the trailer episode with your friends, I feel like I'm part of the discussion and it makes me really happy. I'm writing this mail to you right now because I watched your 400k subscriber video last night where you talked about your past relationship and the dark phase of your life. It made me cry. I'm still suffering from this condition and I don't think anyone would understand it, but I feel your channel helped ease the pain a little bit. So thank you so much, Jaby and team. I wish to remain anonymous. He wrote this at the time that we had 640,000 subscribers.
Okay.
I like these emails a lot. They definitely move me because I for some reason, I don't know, like when you do YouTube, you kind of, there are sometimes you kind of lose sight of what's going on a little bit. You're almost like a machine. And then I see these emails and I'm like, oh yeah, like this is important to a number of people. And I don't know, it gives me inspiration. Like, okay, like I'm bringing people comfort. I was thinking about this earlier today. The podcast that I've introduced to you, that I'm not going to mention it here. I've already mentioned it in other videos, but the one podcast I talked about more than any others, there was an issue they brought up, which was Tinder.
Okay, how does this relate to this?
I'll get to it right now.
Okay.
But I remember the feeling of when they spoke about Tinder, and I was like, I don't feel alone. Because the way they talked about it, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And I don't, there's a comfort in that. And I guess on some level, for at least a handful of people, we're providing comfort. We're providing, you know, a company of some kind.
Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds like egotistical and self-aggrandizing when I say it out loud, but for me, it motivates me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it gives purpose to what we do beyond, like, you know, entertainment.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, we're actually a part of people's lives in a positive way, which is lovely. And I mean, depression isn't something that everybody understands. People often say, like, you know, just buck up.
They're dismissive of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, just, you know, get over it.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, it's not really something that is easy to get over. Like, you have to manage it your entire life, basically.
It's one of those things that's like, it's deeper than sadness, and it's hard to put your finger on it. It's like you can't quite articulate what it is that's making you feel like pulled down inside. I've experienced it many times, you know, throughout my life, and I sometimes still experience it. But this kind of stuff, I guess the reason why this means so much to me is because I experience it. And so it's like, okay, so we know we're not alone. We have each other in a way.
Yeah.
You know, I've got you, you've got me. Even though I don't see your face, not you, Achara, but like this person, even though I don't see your face, we have each other. I don't know if that sounds like stupid, but to me, it makes sense on some level. That thing I mentioned earlier, the podcast I was talking about earlier, where they talked about Tinder. I mean, obviously, that's just one of a litany of things they talked about. That it gave me comfort. It relieved my depression. It helped pick my spirits up because it was like listening to that podcast was like hanging out with friends.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the same thing that at least a handful of people get when they're watching our videos.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the comments now on the last Jaby We Met episode, episode 7. This comes from Lakshma Shankar Khan. Thank you, Jaby. I'm thanking you because you've saved me. I cannot tell you how and how much you've helped me overcoming my issues with loneliness and thinking maybe I could never have friends. Your reactions are so interactive that it makes me feel, oh, I'm not alone, and brings some kind of weird happiness. I know people would think I'm a crackpot or show off, but you, Achara, Hope, are the only friends I have. It's strange that I've never met you guys, but it seems I know you since ages. Thank you. Never stop making videos. You guys are amazing. Love from India.
Aww.
So it's on the same topic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that epitomizes exactly the feeling that I'm driving at. This comes from Aditi Sharma. Any thoughts on atheists? Please don't be mean. I'm one of them. Just asking you this because in India, atheism is either frowned upon or people just don't get it. We also don't have any official recognition here. By the way, thanks for answering my previous questions. That's a tricky one, huh? I mean,
yeah, because you don't necessarily subscribe to religion, but you don't consider yourself an atheist.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not an atheist, but I'm definitely not a religious person. I mean, the only reasonable word is agnostic, but it's like it's annoying because I hate labels. Because there are certain associations that people make with these labels. Like atheists tend to be kind of bombastic and think they know everything and they think they're better than you, right? I mean, that's the stereotypical association with atheism.
Was it you who told me this, or I just heard this? But atheism is almost like its own church, and they have their own societies, and
it's like their own religion in a way. And it's because of what I just described. It's this kind of shared, I use this loosely, but this shared group think of an attitude, right? And so agnosticism is associated with the opposite of that, where it's like, I don't know, it could be, maybe not, who knows? There could be a God, I don't know. And so my stance is pretty simple, which is, I believe in God. I don't know what God is, how God is, where God is. Like, I don't define any parameters because for me to do that would be a lie. I have no scientific basis to support any claim regarding God. I just feel something, and it might be legacy from growing up Catholic. I have no idea, but that's where I stand.
I guess you'll find out when this life is over.
Right. I've teetered on atheism. I can say that much. But as far as it goes, I maybe because of legacy, because of Catholicism, I refuse to give into that notion. I don't know.
I mean, I don't really have a problem with atheists or atheism in general. I mean, I think whatever floats your boat, whatever you want to believe in, if you're not hurting anyone else, then that's fine. The only time it annoys me is like the same with atheists and vegans when they get all like, oh, you shouldn't eat meat and use like animal products, or like, oh, you shouldn't believe in God or whatever because, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, just leave me alone. All right. My belief system is very similar to yours. I mean, I grew up with two parents who had completely different religions. My dad's Christian and my mom is Buddhist, and I was raised with both, but I was never told that, one was better than the other. It was just like, here are two options.
What might inform my stance might be similar, because I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible, but my dad was kind of anti-religious in a way. It's like he believed in it, but he didn't like it, if that makes any kind of sense. Is that clear?
I mean, it makes sense to me because you've explained this to me at length, but maybe for the listeners, try and...
I guess to put it in a nice way, because growing up with it wasn't the nicest thing, and that's like not even scratching the surface of the feeling that I'm trying to communicate. But my dad thought that God didn't like him.
Right.
Essentially. He thought that God just was unhappy with him. And that was very part of my dad's... rhetoric, I guess, his daily rhetoric of what he was wrestling with. He had a lot of negativity regarding God and himself and Jesus and himself, and he didn't know how to deal with that. And it's because he was formerly a devout, born-again Christian, I think.
Okay.
And he was very much a Bible touter, and then he felt like because things didn't quite go his way, it changed his perspective on it in a very negative way. Like, for instance, his brother dying at 13 years old. Not he at 13. My dad was 18 and his brother was 13 when he approximately 12 or 13 when his brother died. Like, that has a major impact on you.
Yeah.
And then, certain relationships not working out and career stuff. It's like there's a number of reasons why he felt the way he did. I tried to convince him to think differently. It's hopeless. It's hard to change your parents, and you shouldn't try.
No, I was gonna say you should never stop trying.
I don't think you should try. The thing about your parents is you have to let them know how you feel and accept. That's it. That's all you can do.
Well, I mean, I think it's the thing where it's like you can't change people.
Exactly.
They have to want to change themselves.
You can't change people, especially your parents. You can't change your parents. They are who they are. You can inform, and you can, like what we were talking about earlier of like the waves hitting the rock.
The
like,
long con.
You can try to do that. It's a 90% likelihood that it won't work. All you can do is inform and accept. You accept because that allows you to love them for who they are. I spent so much of my life trying to conform my dad and twist and change him, and I just frustrated myself.
Yeah, you drive yourself crazy.
Exactly.
I mean, the serenity prayer always comes to mind, and I know we're talking about atheism, but I think it's such a lovely prayer where it's just like, God grant me the serenity to accept the things God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, or something. Yeah. I'm getting it all wrong.
Basically, very George Bush moment.
It's super George. I don't even know what that means, but God grant me the serenity to change the things that I can and accept the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. Something like that. Look it up. The serenity prayer.
George Bush said something to the effect of, fool me once, shame on me. Or no, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you're not going to fool me again. Like he completely messed it up, right? And so it's always great when you mess up phrases.
Or is it God grant me the courage to change the things that I can? And whatever. Guys, just look it up.
We're also inspiring you so hard right now.
So like hashtag quotes or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it's also the one that they use in Alcoholics Anonymous. So
regarding atheism, all I can say is stay steadfast and strong in what you believe in, and be humble and be accepting of those who will not be humble towards you.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is a lot of people will judge you. A lot of people will reject you, and you kind of have to just, as the minority of religions or lack thereof, because a lot of atheists even hate the word atheism because it's a label. They're like, why is there a label for not having something? Like, you don't have a label for not owning cameras. You don't have a label for not owning a bicycle. Right. Why is there a label for not having a religion? And
it's because religion's huge.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All I can say is, what's the saying in England? Stay calm and carry on.
Oh, keep calm and carry on.
Keep calm and carry on. That's all you can really do. Now that we got that all out of the way, let's talk about the thing I wanted to talk about, and you'll know exactly where this is coming from. There was a group of us that went out to lunch, myself, Achara, a woman, and another guy. And what happened was this one specific friend who I'll call Christine, just so I have a name to fix this to. She was mentioning how her guy friends found it distasteful when his friends, who are male, would catcall at women and would do things that women don't typically like. Like, we kind of just go, well, boys will be boys. That's sort of been the prevalent attitude for a long time.
Yeah, not anymore.
And so what's been happening is this huge movement with, post hashtag Me Too and whatnot. Anyway, when she told me that her guy friend stopped being friends with his other guy friends that act this way, my immediate assumption was this phrase. I couldn't recall it at the time. And when I finally did, I texted her excited. I'm like, it's virtue signaling. That's what the phrase is. It's virtue signaling. And I said, that's what your beta male friends are doing. So to me, it was hilarious to say that her friends are being beta males. The idea behind virtue signaling, if you guys don't know what that is you're propping up your own image or your company's image to make yourself look better, basically to sell yourself. For instance, the most notorious one was Dove soap. They had a campaign here in the States called Run Like a Girl. Mm-hmm. Right? And the idea was they put these girls on stage and they put guys on stage, boys on stage, and they go, okay, I want you to show me what it is to run like a girl. And inevitably, the boys would do like this kind of pansy stuff, right? And then they showed a girl who was more tomboyish, and they said, run like a girl. And she just ran like how you'd stereotypically associate with boys, right? Like running.
She was just running with a purpose.
Running with purpose, athletically.
Yeah.
Right? much in the same way you'd see girls at the Olympics running.
Yeah.
Right? But there's this association with how running like a girl is. And the whole Dove campaign was to demonstrate that Dove is changing what it is to run like a girl. And it's like, Dove doesn't actually care. Dove doesn't care about this movement. They don't care about Me Too. They're just trying to sell you soap. It's a board of directors selling to your emotions. That's all it is. They're not actually making strides in any kind of movement. And so likewise, when you have guys who are like, oh, I can't stand men who, catcall at women and, whatever the litany is of things that guys aren't supposed to do anymore. I feel like it's virtue signaling. I feel like they're just trying to, because it's just, they usually tell it to women, especially women that are hot, girls that are attractive. And it's like, well, basically what you're trying to do is show how you're, Captain Save-A-Ho. you're Captain, you're the guy with, Superman who's worth dating. Not those guys, but you're worth dating. And it's like, to me, you're only making yourself look bad and you're making society worse.
But what if they're not the type of person who catcalls or does anything like that?
Well, that's exactly why I wanted to talk with you about this. I loved the idea of having a female perspective on this because I want to know, how do you tell the difference between virtue signaling and a genuine belief in something? It's to me is a very interesting topic.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You'd have to know that person really, really well. Because often, as people, we say one thing, but our actions reflect another thing, right? So you have to know that person well enough to be like, well, they're talking the talk and they're actually walking the walk.
Here, to me, and you tell me if I'm conflating two completely separate ideas here. To me, it's that if a guy goes to an attractive woman and says, yeah, I can't stand when guys do this and when guys cheat and when guys catcall at women and whatnot. To me, that's the same as me coming up to you and going, I'm humble.
Oh, God, that's the worst.
I'm such a humble guy. Is it?
You're not really, because you just said it.
Well, exactly, right? It's counterproductive to say I'm humble. It's not actually achieving that because you're canceling out the humble. What's the word that Joey used on Friends? You're negating the humble by saying you're humble.
Yeah.
Right? There was a Friends episode that kind of epitomizes my feeling about this. I can't do it justice in my retelling, but I'm going to do my best. So what happened was Rachel was seeing this guy, and I can't remember the name of the guy. And what happened was she was talking to Joey and Chandler, I believe, and she was saying how much her new boyfriend doesn't like porn. Like, he just can't stand it. He doesn't watch porn. And Joey goes, does he say that he doesn't like the acting, that it sounds fake and it doesn't turn him on? And Rachel goes, yeah. And Joey and Chandler go, yeah, he watches porn. This woman, Christine, who was texting back and forth with me, thought that like I was just like very aggro about this. And I'm like, I wasn't aggro about that. I was aggro that I couldn't remember the phrase, because there's nothing worse than not remembering a specific word. It's just like this itch on your skull and you can't quite scratch at it. And you're trying so hard to remember it's like 3 days go by and you say the word out loud, fortuitous. That's what I was trying to say. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it finally hits you and it's so satisfying.
Yeah.
And like no one gives a shit except for you.
Well, I think the mistake you made there was that you had this conversation via text.
Yeah, well, that's another
thing.
So, but she basically got angry at me because she said I was bashing her friends who I didn't know, calling them beta males. And I'm like, I don't even know who your friends are. I don't know their names. I don't know their address. I don't know what they do for a living. All I know is this little bit of information you told me, and it immediately screams of virtue signaling. Like, you're telling me your friends stop being friends with other guys only because they catcall at women? Like, really? That doesn't sound right. Like, it must have been other things in addition to that. Like, that was just the thing he shared with you. This is me being a pessimist. And I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optimist. I'm a skeptic. So, yeah, you tell me, like, hit me with the truth. Like, what am I in the wrong here?
Well, I really don't know, because, like, it really depends on her friend. I'm assuming that she knows her friend well, or she could just be in denial.
I think she's in denial.
Like, she just wants to think that her friend is that good person, that virtuous person who's like, oh, I'm an enlightened male. Yeah. I would never do those things.
I think both sexes are guilty of this. I think we get blind to what people close to us are actually doing.
Yeah.
Like, I had a friend and this was a while ago. She was dating this guy, and I've told you this before. And she said something to the effect of, he doesn't yell at me every day, so that's an improvement. And like he was yelling at her every other day, and I'm like, what is he yelling at you about? And she's like, oh, I forgot to put the laundry away, or I didn't make dinner on time. And I'm like, yeah, this sounds like an abusive relationship. Like this sounds like he's emotionally abusive towards you. And eventually, I was like, look, you need to get out of this, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. You can't see it right now. You can't see the forest from the tree from the forest, or whatever the phrase is. We're great at this phrase stuff.
I know.
So once she got out, she's like, oh my God, you were so right. Like, I finally saw it. And like, she wants nothing to do with the guy now. So I think that's a symptom of what's going on. I think that's what's going on here, where she can't, maybe either A, she's right, which is possible.
That is entirely possible. It is entirely possible that she could be the type of person who, hangs out with extremely enlightened men.
Sure. She just so happens.
The
only set of enlightened men in Los Angeles.
Yes.
I'm not enlightened, by the way. I'm an asshole. So what I'm trying to get at is we're losing sight of truth.
Right.
That's ultimately the point here. Virtue signaling to me is contributing to our inability to stay truthful with each other and ourselves and our behavior and our nature.
Well, I think also, today with the advent of social media and stuff like that, there is this feeling of like wanting to present yourself to the world in a certain way.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, you might be like, oh, I support this charity, or like, look at me, I'm doing this cool thing. Aren't I a good person?
Right.
And you're not.
Yeah, that's virtue signaling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not being genuine. You're not being truthful because you're just like jumping on a bandwagon or saying things that you think will make people like you more because.
Or envy you.
Yes.
So
FOMO is real.
Thank you. I appreciate that you brought up FOMO. The thing that sticks out the worst to me, the thing that I hate the most, that this whole thing made me think of, is when you're on Facebook and your girlfriend, not like girlfriend you're dating, but like a female friend of yours goes, "Oh my God, it's my husband's anniversary and I love you so much, honey. Like, Jesse, we've been together for 10 years and you're the most amazing husband. The only one I've had, but you're the most amazing one in the world." And this soliloquy, it's like, why don't you say that to his face? Why are you saying it on Facebook? Like, we don't all care.
I know. It makes me feel quite uncomfortable. Although I will admit, I have actually done that, I think, on Instagram for my mom's birthday, even though my mom's not on Instagram because for whatever reason, I felt like she would probably appreciate it. Because my mom's that person who would be like, my daughter just like did this whole thing praising me.
Yeah. I would much rather be told to my face how someone feels about me rather than them splashing it on Facebook and sharing it with the world. It's like no one needs to know about that.
Well, that's like French kissing in front of your friends. Like, it's weird and gross. Can you not? Can you just stop? Like, get a room.
The only thing like that I can recall that I am guilty of is sharing on my dad's on his death anniversary or his birthday. Like, I'll share a video that I made of him.
I appreciated that though.
And so, but it's like I can't share that with him.
Yeah.
He's not here. So I feel like that's a pass. Like I get.
Yeah.
And I don't even do that so much anymore. So I hate virtue signaling. That's what this comes down to. And I'm still like, as you rightly brought up, I'm still confused by how to tell the difference between the two. And I think the only way is when you catch someone behaving properly. It has to be by chance. Like, for instance, if you and I are out and there's a guy friend there, let's say you walk away to go get some coffee and you come back. And as you're coming back, you hear me reprimanding this guy friend because of how he's treating this woman. Then that's not virtue signaling.
Yeah.
But if you come back and he walks away and I go, "Hey, Achara, you know what he did? He hit on this girl over there and she didn't want to be bothered. Like, clearly she didn't want to be bothered and he kept talking to her and it annoyed me because he wasn't reading her body language and she clearly didn't want to be bothered." Like, what an asshole. Right? Like, that guy shouldn't do that. Those
Well, that's
guys.
gossiping.
No, but like, no, that's also virtue signaling because I'm telling, as a man who's straight, I'm telling you what another straight man's doing wrong, right? And in order to prop up my image so that hopefully I can sleep with you, that's virtue signaling as a man, and it annoys the shit out of me. And I feel like the only way to tell the difference is if you catch them in the act by chance.
Right.
But like, because to me, it's like you can never utter the words "I'm humble." You're not allowed to. It doesn't work. And so likewise, I feel like you can't tell someone this kind of thing. I feel like it just depends on the situation. Like there was this TED Talk I saw ages ago of this guy talking about what men need to do to help out the movement of feminism. Like men need to help with this. And it's like, okay, in a TED Talk, fine, I'll forgive it. In a speech, fine, I'll forgive it. If it's a presidential speech or whatever, like you're really trying to facilitate a movement, it's still questionable, but I'll forgive that.
Right.
Right? But just you and me talking, or me and any other hot girl talking, and I'm going, oh, men, it's terrible when men do this. Like, no, that's...
Yeah. No, totally.
It's bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not crazy then. Like, am I just making a good argument, or is this?
No, it's real. I mean, it's in many cases, it's extremely obvious when someone is, virtue signaling, and then you're like, ugh, whatever, you're
It's gross.
you're just trying to say this stuff in order to like get into my pants or whatever, but that's not going to work. It can be a little bit harder with your friends because maybe
You're too close.
You don't want to see it, or it could just be that they are telling the truth,
Yeah, I am telling the truth when I am humble. How do you know? Like, how do you know?
Like, that's why with your friends you give them the benefit of the doubt because they're your friends.
Oh, speaking of humble, one of the texts she sent me before we went into this big dissertation was, you need to take a humble pie. You need to eat a humble pie. I'm just like, oh man, like, oh, that just rubbed me the wrong way. Someone got upset with me for something I said, which was a joke, and they told me, eat a humble pie. You're so negative. Like, I'm like, what? And so basically what you're saying is you're humble enough to know like how when someone's not being, I don't know, that's just confusing. I don't even know if I can articulate that properly.
Well, I think also as a woman who has many male friends, I suppose when you friend zone someone, you don't want to have the like little niggle inkling at the back of your mind that maybe they're still trying to have sex with you. I am not thinking about that about any of my guy friends, although if I'm being completely honest, like if I look at it, I'm like, there's a good chance that at some point during the friendship, during the relationship, it probably crossed their mind.
Yeah. Because that's natural.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's not, guys will do that.
Yeah. But it can kind of mess you up as a girl because you're like, no, I trust this guy friend. It can be a very it can be like a very precarious situation to be a woman, and you want to be optimistic and you want to be like, my guy friends are wonderful and they would never be like that, because that's how they behave towards me and blah, blah, blah. But like,
I feel like that's ignorant.
They might not.
Honestly.
But okay, so on the subject of like getting sayings wrong, there's one that's been like just percolating in my brain. It goes, love is blind, but friendship closes its eyes.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever heard that one?
It sounds like bullshit, but sure.
So the idea is like, you know about like love being blind, but with our friends, we often know their faults, but we choose not to acknowledge them, or like we just ignore them, we bury them.
Ignoring them, yes.
Yeah.
I think that when you're being real and you often don't want to deal with the consequence of telling someone like, hey, you're kind of fucked up in this way.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Yeah, you're like, oh, yeah. You're like, I'll just let it slide.
Yeah, it's
you
just
know,
not
they're not
worth
my
it.
boyfriend or whatever. Like, I don't need to have this conversation with them today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of being humble, so this friend and I went back and forth, Christine and I went back and forth by text message for a while. And I'm an argumentative person sometimes,
Yes.
depending on the situation. Like if it's with a friend, I will debate you to hell. Like I will keep debating until like, but I mean not for the sake of debating, but because like if I feel like you're not understanding me, I will continue to debate you until I feel like you've at least got a semblance of understanding where I'm coming from. In this particular instance, she just wanted to hear that she was right, is what it felt like. So I was at some point like she kept going off on one, and I was like, "You're right. I'm sorry," even though I didn't feel it. And then she was like, "Apology accepted," and she gave me the hands,
The prayer hand
emoji,
emoji.
and I'm like, "How do you not see that I'm being so disingenuous right now?" Like
Because it's in text.
but like I had these strands of text explaining my perspective, and then I'm like, "You're right. I'm sorry."
Well, maybe she was just like, wow, I really got through to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's taken that slice of humble pie and he ate it with whipped cream. You know, like,
Yeah. I think that sometimes you have to just say, "Yeah, sure," and take a knee.
yeah, no, for reals.
Yeah.
For reals. Sometimes it's just like,
It's not worth it.
you just have to pick your battles and be like, you know what? You can win this one. I'm good.
Yeah. Because I mean, what I always go back to is like, life is short, man.
Yeah.
Life is, you just, why do it? It's like
Why
you're
fight?
just wasting the energy. And on that note, this is the last thing I want to talk about, because the early on in the podcast, Anamika
Yeah.
was talking about her friend. And this goes back to something that actually comes up a lot on Jaby We Met, or has, with people talking about like, I wanna do this, but my parents want me to be an engineer, etc. And the thing about it is, you are only guaranteed this life. And I like to remind people of that, because sometimes we get caught up in the minutia of bullshit. We get caught up in the minutia of, you know, work and paying your bills and pleasing your parents and pleasing your friends and pleasing this, that, in society. And it's like, first and foremost, like, what was it the other day? I think we were watching the web series, and one of the things that was brought up was like the parents making sacrifices for their children.
Yes.
And the kid's like, "I didn't ask to be here." And I love that response. I don't actually know if I'm making that up or if that was actually in the
No,
show.
it was, yeah.
Okay, so but I thought about that. That was like percolating in my mind, and I realized I wanted to bring it up on the podcast, because the thing about it is, people have this kind of loyalty to their parents to a fault, especially in Asian cultures,
Yes.
right? And it's like, I agree with being loyal to your family. Don't take sides against the family, right?
Yeah. Familia first.
Family first. However, you have to simultaneously recognize you didn't ask to be here. You are here though, and your life is yours. And therefore, it should be up to you what you ultimately do with it, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. You shouldn't feel guilty for wanting to do something in particular with your life that maybe it contradicts what your parents want for you.
Right.
That's ultimately like all I really wanted to get out.
Yeah.
Because like this right here with Anamika's friend, she wants to watch movies and her parents are like, "No, because of our religion." It's like, well, she didn't ask to be part of that religion. She didn't ask to be born, but she is, and she has this desire to watch movies, and it's not hurting anybody. So she has a passion for it. Let her be. Like, you're trying to impose your beliefs, your religion that someone else imposed on you, and you're just continuing this cycle. It's got to stop somewhere. And ultimately, it stops with you once you realize this.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're perpetuating this cycle that doesn't need to be perpetuated. It's not actually helping anything. I mean, I think that there's a philosophical value in religion, but like, you have to discern the difference between like blind allegiance to dogma and good values.
Yeah.
And they get conflated,
Yeah.
you know, and loyalty gets conflated with sacrificing your own joy and your own passion.
Well, I think society places a lot of value on sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like, and especially in religion and stuff as well. Like, there's martyrs and everything, and you're taught, like, oh, if you sacrifice, you're such a good person because you sacrificed. But actually, if you really think about it, like, if you focus on your own happiness and doing what makes your soul sing, then you're going to be a better person. You're going to be happier, and you're going to be able to share that happiness and love with the people around you.
Right.
So it makes sense to kind of be a little selfish,
Yeah.
And do the things that make you happy. Because, I mean, I know that like Buddhists and Hindus and stuff, like we believe in reincarnation, but like, I don't think you remember your past life, so you may as well like just make good use of the one that you've got now and just go for it. No regrets.
I agree with you, obviously. I guess, one more little tiny note is I really, if there's any Buddhists watching this, I really dislike the idea of karma, basically, the karma wheel. The Buddhist karma wheel.
Yes.
Like you've inherited sins from your past life and you have to deal with it. I hate that. I really despise that. Like, that's one of the things that keeps me super agnostic because it's like, why would that have anything to do? The same friend, Christine, actually, was the one who brought it up to me. Like, don't you think like maybe like we're old souls and we're dealing with stuff from our previous life? It's like, no, I don't.
I mean, it's a nice notion. Like, I was told this idea about how, like how sometimes in your family, many families, like they fight and they don't get along.
Uh-huh.
And the idea is that maybe in your past life you were enemies. So like your lesson in this life is to learn to love your enemy. I think that's beautiful.
That's so stupid. No, that's not why. There's no way to prove that. Okay?
There is no way. It's called faith.
I think the reason why that bothers me is like I was talking to Christine and I'm like, look, like whoever, let's assume there was a past life, right? Whoever this person was, I'm closer to you than I am to that former version of myself, if there even is a former version of myself, because I don't know who that fucking person is. I don't know who it is. They don't know me. They don't care about me. I don't care about them because I don't know who they are. I don't know their name. I don't know their address. I don't know what they did, if they were part of the Nazi regime or if they were in a Buddhist monastery. Like, I have no idea. I don't know why I went to those two extremes. Like, I don't know if they were a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Like, I have no idea. And frankly, it doesn't effing matter. It really doesn't. It doesn't affect what you do now at all. It's like,
have you ever had that feeling of deja vu, or like when you meet someone and you're like, wow, it's like we know each other?
Okay, let me back up a little bit. I'm not saying that you haven't had a past life. I'm not saying past lives don't exist.
Right. You're just saying that they don't matter for this life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They have no consequence because your behavior is influenced by two things, in my opinion: your genes and your environment.
Yes, very scientific, yes.
And it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, to say that there's something from your past life, it's like, okay, and what? It's like,
oh, couldn't your genetics be your past life?
No.
I thought there were studies about like trauma and pain and stuff like that, and apparently you do inherit the trauma from your ancestors.
That's not your past life. That's their life.
Oh, good point.
I mean, that's getting really heady. Like, at that point, it's like, oh, we're all just star stuff, which is true. We're star stuff.
Yeah.
But like,
so we're everyone's past life.
Sure. That's so the goalposts is so far now. It doesn't even, like, it's not even worth acknowledging.
I'm just speaking nonsense.
Yeah. So, but all I'm driving at is I really dislike when people use, because to me, karma has only been used against others to keep them in line. Like, don't do that. That's bad karma. You don't want to do that. because that's going to be some bad karma. You only want good karma. I feel like it's used to manipulate people.
Well,
At least the way I've seen it in my experience is it's only been used to a negative effect, for people to manipulate someone else.
Right. And I think, like what you're talking about with the whole karmic wheel and stuff is this idea that, what good or what evil you do in this lifetime affects, your status in your next life. So if you were a criminal and a murderer or whatever, you might come back as a fly.
Yeah.
Or if you, donated a lot of money to the temple, you would come back as a rich person in your next life. But you're probably not rich this life because you gave all your money to the temple. I don't know. But I do believe in this idea that you get back what you put out. So in that sense, yes, karma is real, because if you're always being horrible to people and being mean to them and not offering them help or whatever, when you're down, no one's going to turn around and be like, let me help you,
Yeah, and then you look at these tobacco companies and you look at these people who are like in the Fortune 500 who could just spit on you. Like they don't care. You look at Justin Bieber, who's spit on his fans. Like all that quickly falls apart when you look at like the Nazis. Like obviously Hitler got what was coming to him supposedly, but he was able to he was able to massacre a lot of people. Him and Stalin, like in North Korea.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
So how do you prove that? It's like I think these are like, it would be nice if this was true. But obviously I'm one that subscribes to the idea of like, be as helpful to your fellow man and woman as possible, but there's no guarantee that anything's coming back, and that's okay. Like I give to my brother and sister, for instance, I'm like, I'm not expecting anything back at all, ever. If I get something back, cool. I might call them on that at some point and be like, I need your help moving my couch. Now I given you a bunch of shit. So can you at least help me move my couch? I'm asking you one favor, please. Like I that's not something that's actually come up, but just as an example, right? But like my point is that I'm just giving because like I can, but I'm not expecting anything in return. So there's no like expectation of karma. I'm just giving what I can because I can, and I makes me feel good. I don't know.
I mean, this is one of those things that we could discuss at length.
All I'm trying to say is if anyone tries to tell you anything about your past life having some kind of effect on your current life, just laugh and walk away.
It's a nice story, though.
That's okay. A narrative is fine, but taking it at face value as true is not fine.
Yeah.
You have to be. It's always good to apply just a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah.
Don't get suckered. That's my whole thing, is just don't get suckered. I think, what bothers me about all that stuff? How do I articulate this properly? It deals with not just past life, but next life stuff, or the next realm, like heaven or something like that. And what that does is I feel like it gives us permission to be lazy. It gives us permission to not do everything we can with this life, if that makes any sense. Like, people are like, oh yeah, no, I'm working hard for heaven. So I'm good in God's eyes so that he'll give me a seat next to Jesus. It's like, but how do you know that's what's going to happen? You're not living your life to the max right now, because I just feel like it gives you permission to be lazy. It just really frustrates me when people use that as a means to justify inaction.
Yeah, and I mean, I think in the past, centuries ago, or maybe even now, like it is very much used as a means of controlling people, because especially people who are poor. And I think that's why a lot of the time religion can find such a stronghold in poorer societies, because they don't have a lot. So this idea of a promise of more, it's somewhere else in a next life or in heaven or whatever, can make this life more tolerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you keep people giving the church money. I think that adequately answered the atheism question.
Did it?
I think we really went all in on
Yeah.
talking about that, even though it is more
Look,
indirect.
I mean, I like you. I believe there is a higher power. Like I feel like there's something out there, but I feel like this idea of organized religion is a man-made construct, and it was
Well,
made.
religion in general is a man-made concept.
Yeah, it was made for many things to, you know, teach values and laws and rules and to control the masses.
Yeah. A friend of mine, or former friend, because I don't talk to him anymore. One of the things he said was like, there's an excuse that without religion, it would just be chaos. We would be murdering each other, right? And his response to that is, no, you wouldn't, because you don't want to get murdered. There's that eye for an eye philosophy of like, well, you wouldn't necessarily do something to someone that you wouldn't want done to you.
Right.
Right? And that's just kind of inherent in human nature for most of us. Obviously, like, there are those who will try to take advantage of other people because they don't have the same, they're not built the same way.
Yeah. Is that something that is innate or is that something that is taught? That's the question. Because if it is something that is taught, there is an argument there that, you know, religion can be beneficial because it does teach you things like, you know, generosity and altruism.
I don't think you need religion to impart moral structure. I think society can have moral structure without religion just fine.
Well, like that's why we have laws.
Exactly. I don't think you need religion in order to have laws. I think those are mutually exclusive. There's overlap, and certainly one has influenced the other for a long time, but I think that they can be mutually exclusive.
Even just talking about that, I've never watched the movie, or movies, but it made me think of The Purge.
Why The Purge?
Well, like if we had no laws, no rules or whatever, and you could overstep boundaries and do whatever you wanted, like, hasn't there maybe been a time where you've been like, oh my God, I've been so mad at this person, but you stopped yourself from like punching them in the face or something?
Let me put it to you this way. When my father passed away, religion isn't the reason I felt bad. Religion isn't the reason I felt darkness or sadness. I felt sadness because of the loss.
Right.
And when you're apart from someone, you feel a version of that loss. Like you know they're out there, but you miss them, right? That's built in. That's not necessarily taught. That's built into us.
Right.
When babies are apart from their mom, they miss them, or maybe it's because of food. It's because they want their tit, but like, there's still that kind of like, I want that person back.
Right.
That's built in from the get-go. And so what I'm trying to say is we have empathy. Humans have empathy. And so we don't want to cause that feeling to someone else, usually.
Yeah. Usually.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I don't think that religion is preventing death. If anything, religion has orchestrated more death than it has prevented.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, that's up for debate.
Yeah.
I'm not going to commit to that statement. I'm just saying it's quite possible.
I mean, yeah, there have been religious wars, crusades. What was it that the Spanish did in Latin America?
Spanish Inquisition?
Exactly, that one.
So anyway, I think this has gone on way too long.
Yes, this is very long.
I think that for a final episode, if this is the final episode, it's been quite an interesting one, to say the least. And if you guys really want this to keep going, I guess let us know in the comments.
We'll see you in 6 months.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's... I don't know if I can keep doing this just because of everything else going on. Like, it took me this long to get to this video because it's almost like I went into a time machine or something, or a chamber of some kind. Like, somehow 9 months has passed between this and the previous episode I put out.
Has it been 9 months?
Yeah, like, it's gone. This year, it's like, it's one of those things where I can feel... Ever since doing YouTube full time, I can feel the time. I can feel it. I am much more aware of it, and it goes slowly because of that. Because I'm not just on a freeway in my brain like I was when I worked at Yahoo, where it's like the days don't mean anything because it's all just clerical, basically, right? Whereas this is like, there's a lot of nuances going on here. There's a lot of colors going on here. There's discussions about different things all the time. And so I'm more aware of the time, but even with that, somehow it's gone quick.
It's gone really quick this year.
I don't know if I can keep it up, but if you guys really, really want us to, or this video happens to do well for some reason, I guess we can keep going. But if it's the last one, I think this was a good one to end on. It was very interesting for me, to say the least, and hopefully it was for you guys as well. Anyway, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And on the off chance that we keep going, be sure to hit us with emails or questions. You can use the comments below if you don't mind that, or you can email jabykoaymfamily@gmail.com if you want to write in and say something that you're going through and you want some advice on, or you have a question that isn't a request for a trailer reaction. Then that'd be cool. And if I don't end up making another podcast episode for Jaby We Met, I'll just write you back. So that's it for now. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm Jaby KOAY.
I'm Achara KIRK.
Peace out.